Hey Patreon family, welcome to your monthly tutorial. In today's tutorial and today's readings, because we will be doing 3 readings along with this tutorial to really demonstrate the kind of subject that we are talking about and learning about today. So in today's tutorial, we are looking at, how can you use cards and runes and readings to assist you in recovery from trauma or loss? And of course, loss actually is traumatic. There's no doubt about it. So this is really about picking yourself up. How do you use these amazing tools to assist you in this process? For anyone who's actually watching this on YouTube, I post my Patreon tutorial on YouTube for just 48 hours. So you guys are welcome to watch it here on YouTube as well. For anyone on Patreon, obviously all of the tutorials backdated are there for you to just scroll down and use at any time, along with all my all zodiac sign extended readings. But Patreon family, back to your tutorial, and thank you so much for suggesting this subject matter. I really appreciate it. Now, what you're seeing in front of you is an array of cards. Now, I very specifically chose to bring these cards up to kind of show you how we can choose specific packs that can really align with specific subjects, and all of these have a relevance, I think, to the kind of readings and the kind of stuff that will come up in readings when we're looking at supporting somebody in recovery and moving through some aspect of a trauma or a difficulty. Now, for those of you that are already really amazing readers, and I know many of you are, and you're just extending your knowledge through watching these tutorials, you don't have to have all of these different packs of cards, but they are just one way of looking at using specific tools for specific subjects. So it's worth bringing it into our tutorial just to kind of open that doorway of possibility. In exactly the same way that I've chosen 3 crystals here as well. Sometimes, especially in a pick-a-card reading, we use crystals to guide us in. Now, sometimes people will just be drawn to those crystals because of what they look like. But ultimately, they are emitting an energy, a frequency, and whether the person is aware of it or not, the energy of that frequency is resonating with them. And this has real bearing on trauma, actually, because if we have experienced any form of trauma, then there's like a resonance of that. It's like a memory is kind of held in the body. There are some amazing books such as The Body Keeps the Score, which talks about the way that trauma and the residue of trauma is held within the body and even passed down genetically through genetic lineage. So we can literally be carrying trauma from a previous generation, something that happened to your grandmother or your grandfather. The residue of that trauma, if it was unresolved, can actually be sitting in you. You could have a reaction to something, and you may not know why you have such a strong reaction to it, but actually you could be experiencing a physical and an emotional reaction to a trauma that happened to somebody in a previous generation. This has been really well researched. So let me just switch momentarily to another camera, and I'm literally going to kind of almost visually show you how this works, because I think it's quite helpful if we have a visual image while I'm talking this through, so we can see how the impact of a historic trauma, whether that's within our own lifespan, relatively recent, or something from previous generations, can be tapped into, because we can then look at how we help to attend to that process within our readings, how readings can really assist in the healing process. Okay, so to demonstrate, I have here a plate. I always think it's interesting, those kind of sayings when we say, somebody's plate's very full, when we're talking metaphorically about how they are feeling, perhaps emotionally or in the context of their life. So let's just assume that this plate is you or somebody else who's coming to you for a reading, or someone who's finding a reading that you're doing. And ideally, in a perfect world, from an energy perspective, we would want their plate to be kind of fluent. So I'm going to use some wonderful aspects of pasta. Let's just say this is in an ideal healthy world. We've all got stuff going on, but it's reasonably reasonably, I'm going to say sort of flowing, fluent, light, higher vibration. That's a kind of a perfect kind of scenario. There will be stuff going on. You may have kind of like, I don't know, let's use some more different coloured pasta. You've kind of got family members, friends kind of are around in your world, taking up a little bit of your internal space, whether that's emotional or your thinking space or your physical activities, you know. So we're never completely pure, are we? We've always got stuff going on, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's negative. We've all got stuff going on. But if you experience a really, really traumatic event, what kind of happens is that your world gets significantly coloured by those experiences, okay? And if it's present, it's going to be, you know, kind of basically a lot of stuff is going on. Let's say there's something big happening in your world. Your plate is now fuller, and your energy, ultimately your pure energy, is now diminished a bit, really. There isn't enough room. It's like, I always think it's a bit like a computer hard drive. You know, we can only deal with so much at a time before we reach an overload. And I often describe bereavement as this, you know, once the bereavement process, the bereavement program is running, it's running in the background, and there is not a lot you can do about it. It has to run its course. It's like the whole computer has to reconfigure. And because it requires a degree of energy, while that is taking place, while it's being processed, lots of other things will kind of, the other functionality will slow down. Some programs will stop working altogether. They're no longer compatible. There's a process of reconfiguring. And ultimately, trauma is like this. So if there's a lot going on, stuff is occupying our internal space. And what I'm going to demonstrate by using two different sets of pasta, which I'm thrilled to have, is that this could be thinking space, it's taking up your head space, but you also have emotional space. So let's use this as emotional space. If there's something big going on in your life, it will take up a lot of your head space. That will trigger an emotional reaction. Okay, there's a massive connection between thoughts and emotions. They kind of spark off one another. I've written a lot about this stuff. Now, if you can see here, we now have a plate that's pretty full. It's not as full as some people's plates get. Some people's plates get to the point where they are spilling over. They're overflowing. And there's very little of this kind of good light energy left. This is kind of what happens when we are experiencing the tough stuff of life. Now, this could be present, but interestingly enough, it could also be past. That past stuff could be within your own life, where you have been experiencing traumatic stuff, either in your recent history or even in your childhood. You could also inherit genetically a package of stuff that's literally in your genes. It's genetically held, that carries the residue. You may not know it in a thinking way, but it will carry the residue of the experience in an emotional way within you. This has been really, really well catalogued. It's been well researched. I've spoken about this before in some of my readings. Now, the two key factors to contemplate here, I think, are both the head space and the emotional space, because our mind and our emotions, they can complement each other. Emotions are like energy in motion. They're loaded with power. But if those emotions are stuck within us and we're not able to move something forwards or process it, it kind of remains locked within us like an emotional roadblock. And that will affect the way that we think and affect the way that we process things. In the same way, if your thinking patterns are very tangled, they will generate negative emotions. There's a really strong link between emotions and our thinking patterns. They really are interconnected. If you have, though, hypothetically inherited some trauma, you may not be aware of it in your thinking mind, but emotionally it's there. It will colour your perspectives of things. And if something happens in your current life, so let's say an event takes place that resonates with that trauma. Here we go. So in your external world, something comes along here. Okay, so you thought you were doing quite swimmingly, It's reasonably buried in there, okay? Let's bury that there. You think things are reasonably okay, but it's actually buried in there. Something comes along in your current life and it resonates with the experience of the past. This could be a genetically carried trauma. It could be something in your current life. Let's say you were really, really ruthlessly bullied at school, for example, to the point of being really traumatized, and then literally somebody in a supermarket is really, really rude to you and behaves in a bullying manner. That impact, the resonance of that, will trigger this stuff and it will reactivate it. So it's going to all start coming to the surface again. That in itself will start to trigger thinking patterns, and the whole lot starts to sort of reach a boiling point. And you may actually feel that, gosh, why am I overreacting? Why am I having such a strong reaction to something that I know is relatively small? The reason you're having a strong reaction to it is because it's resonating with something that is still sitting within you, the memory of something that you were never able to properly resolve. And this is the real key, because if something goes unresolved, it remains stuck here within us. It can be buried. Sometimes we don't even know what that's about. If we've inherited something, we probably don't know what it's about. But the point is, it's still within us. It's a bit like the kind of, I don't know, the elephant in the living room, but the elephant that nobody has yet identified. You know, we're all walking around it. There's a gigantic something in the way, but we don't know what it is. We're all walking around it. But until we identify it, we can't really decide what we can do to actually try to fix it. This is one of the many areas that readings can assist with. So let's run through some of the many ways in which readings can really, really assist to kind of get from this situation where we could potentially reach a point where we're spilling over, we're overloaded, we're really struggling to work out what's what, we can't see the woods for the trees, we've kind of got thinking patterns going on that are generating all sorts of emotional stuff, we've got emotional triggers going on all around us, and we're feeling a little bit overloaded, to put it mildly. You know, how do we get from this, ultimately, to kind of something, let's just bring that one back in like this, a reasonably pure space with stuff going on, stuff comes in emotionally, you know, there are things going on that get us thinking, but you know what? It's minimal. We're kind of handling it. We have resilience, we have durability, we understand what's going on. We're not kind of spilling over. We're not in a chaotic or really, really constantly traumatized place where we're struggling to right ourselves, to stay on track, to keep our energy clean and to keep ourselves in a grounded and kind of just a basically okay place. So I think the first thing that cards can actually do is that they create an anchor point. I'm going to move this away and we'll actually get some cards out, and we'll kind of going to use some cards while I'm talking to just kind of generally assist in this process. Okay, so the first thing that cards can do is to give us an anchor point. Very interesting, the card that's come up here. Look at this, we have the Five of Swords. Now, this is a really interesting card to have just shown itself to us, just for a point of illustration, because the Five of Swords, we're looking at the shadow side where somebody's feeling as if they are really, really literally in the dark. They are, the rain is around them. It's a very depressing looking image. Okay, but this is a card where even though things aren't great, someone is looking behind them, they've picked themselves up and they're walking towards a new dawn. So it's a kind of a turning point. I think this card has actually beautifully illustrated for us exactly how cards can benefit. The first thing that a reading does is it will give you an anchor point in the here and now, and it will reflect something of your situation. So whether you find a reading on YouTube, you're doing a reading for yourself, or you're doing a reading for somebody else who is in a space of difficulty, just by being able to become an observer of their own situation, that is going to create an anchor point where they can now begin to stand back and look at what's actually going on. So if this is what's going on, They're going to be able to stand back, and rather than literally be in it, drowning in it, they can stand back and begin to look at it. A reading, of course, as you draw cards, will then be able to bring out some of these pieces. It will pull some of these pieces out and identify them. It will say, well, this bit's going on, and this might be triggering this bit, and this thinking pattern is happening, and this is what's going on at the moment. A reading will identify exactly what's taking place, and that is really, really affirming. It validates where you are, especially if you're involved in any form of traumatic recovery. What you're actually really doing when you create a reading, or you're doing a reading, is that you are validating somebody's position. And really crucial to the recovery from trauma is the re-establishment of choice. Okay, now many years ago, I know many of you will know already that I worked as an accredited counsellor for a long time, and for about 15 years of my full-time practice, which spanned many years, I actually worked quite independently, but I supervised the counsellors and outreach workers for the Terence Higgins Trust, who worked with HIV patients. And we found actually that the people who were coming forward, the point of crisis for most people was at first diagnosis, and then also when they went on to full-time medication, because their life was no longer in their own control. And we found that actively working with choice was a really helpful thing to do. It combated that out of control feeling. So when we do a reading, we are giving an overview, we're creating an anchor point, we're validating what's going on. Let's draw some more cards as we're speaking. We have 3 cards here. Let's see what we're being shown just as I'm talking. Okay, so yes, here we have Ace of Swords. Isn't that interesting? There is your anchor point and what you can do about it. Okay, so really interesting imagery being shown to us just as I am talking. Now, very interesting. We then have the Queen of Swords. So, do we remain stuck in our head thinking about things in a negative way, or do we find a way through this? Can we instigate our choices? The Queen of Swords, in the most powerful positive aspect of the energy of this card, is about being really creating clear thinking, being able to take charge of your choices. Or are we trapped in thinking patterns? So we can see these cards are really beautifully illustrating exactly what I am voicing. A reading is an anchor point. It creates an opportunity for a new beginning. You can stand back, have an overview, start to instigate choices and take charge of your life, even if you are feeling as though you are really in the thick of things. Now, another thing that I think is really interesting, we have here the 3 of Pentacles. 3 of Pentacles means that we start to have the resources available to us to be able to learn from an experience. We can grow from it. Even a crisis point where things have gone really wrong. Look at the break in this wall. I'm loving that these cards are really illustrating what I'm trying to voice. So even this hole in the wall, if you think about it, when something breaks down, it is also a breakthrough point. If it is contained, held, and the person is given the right level of support and the right kind of information to initiate actions that regain their choices and their capacity to change their world in the future. So really beautiful cards coming up here to illustrate exactly how a reading can be of huge assistance in the recovery from trauma. Now, one of the other things that I think is really interesting when we validate someone's situation and we have that anchor point and the overview, and we can begin to look at what choices are available to them. Something that happens when we are traumatized is that we often lose faith in ourselves, not just in perhaps people if we've been treated badly, but we lose trust in ourselves. We often go over and over things and think, did I make the right choice? I obviously got it wrong. It can really spiral into an aspect of kind of self-doubt. If you are in a situation that is currently resonating, so for example, if somebody's come into your life, you were bullied at school, we used this example a little bit earlier, If you were bullied at school and then someone comes into your life and everything appears to be okay, but your gut feeling doesn't feel right, and you look at a reading that says, can I trust this person? Actually, the validation of that will reinforce your gut feeling. If that reading confirms, look, this person isn't quite what they seem to be, that's really going to affirm your gut feeling, and it will validate your intuition and start to reinforce your trust in yourself and your belief in your own ability to make those choices from a position of really listening to yourself. So cards also do this. Let's just draw some more cards, really about refinding that trust within ourselves when we have in some way had that process damaged, because this is a result of trauma, actually. What have we shown here? How interesting. We have the Queen of Cups and the Magician. Isn't this lovely? The Queen of Cups is a figure, the energy of the Queen of Cups is somebody who is emotionally in charge. She can listen to her emotions. When, of course, she denies them, she can get caught up in the ego and the fear-driven thoughts rather than those deeper inner feelings, understanding that emotions are actually a very helpful tool. And the Magician is, of course, about becoming the alchemist, being able to transform your position now and take charge and build a future in a much more active way in terms of manifestation. I'm loving the way these cards have come out for us. It's just gorgeous. Such a validation of how, as we are talking, as we are tuned into the energy of someone's situation, the cards will actively work with us and respond to what is taking place, both within our thinking, within our feeling, and within the subject matter of the area that we're trying to look at. So on the basis of what I've just been saying, let's now take a look at why I chose these specific packs. So this particular pack of cards is actually the Inner Child Fairytale pack. It's a tarot pack, but it kind of works on the basis of fairy tale stories. They do align beautifully actually with the archetypal meanings of the fundamental traditional tarot cards. But because they are an inner child pack, I actually think they are really, really useful if you are doing a reading for somebody who has really experienced some kind of trauma or damage during their childhood, because this is going to tune in directly to those kinds of areas. These cards are going to resonate and speak with those kinds of areas of somebody's world. So if someone is coming to you for a private reading, or you're doing a pick a card reading and you're looking at childhood wounds, this is a really good pack to use. It's not necessary, as I've said, you can use any tarot pack, but this may give you some really quite specific information. This is the Akashic Tarot. So for me, this is a pack that I always use if I'm looking at past lives or somebody's karmic position. If we're looking back at maybe generational trauma that someone is still carrying, this is a really great pack to use because it's very connected to I would say the empowerment of the present, the resolution of the past, and the creation of a new future. So from a karmic perspective, working at a level of soul growth and soul healing, very, very relevant pack to use in your readings. This is the Tarot of Opporsitions. It's designed in such a way that it shows both the sort of the higher resonance of a card and the lower resonance of a card. It's almost like having an upright and a shadow visible to you. What I think is really interesting with these cards, and this a way that I personally use them, is rather than using them in either the upright or the shadow position, I quite like using them in a horizontal position in a reading. Because with these cards, I can see where somebody is conflicted. And I can ask about that. I can ask a really clear direction. Can we be shown what kind of conflict is going on, where that internal conflict is sitting? Is it a conflict between mind and emotions? But what is going? Is there an internal roadblock, an emotional roadblock going on? What's taking place? Where does that core conflict sit within someone? These cards are fabulous for bringing that to light for us within a reading. Now this is a Herbal Astrology pack. It's a beautiful pack to use. Aside from bringing in the aspect of astrology, It also really helps to bring in any kind of aspect of potential herbal remedy as well. Most of these are looking as if they're in reverse, but you know, you can see already, look, lion's mane, leadership. So not only does it give you an indication of potential herbal healing, which could be helpful to whoever is watching your reading. This is helping you to move forwards, but it's also telling you something of maybe what they're needing to heal, what they need to step up into. In this case, it's the leadership card. So for me, this is a pack that I love to use to bring in that aspect of herbal healing. The tea leaves are lovely cards. Oops. The tea leaves are great because they will really give an indication both of past, present and future. You can use them just as you would any oracle cards. What I also love about them though as well, aside from the main pack, and it's a huge deck of cards, there's over 200 cards I think, you have these additional cards here that connect to different areas of life. So happiness, career, marriage, love, wealth. So you can draw some additional cards to find out, you know, where is the impact of a trauma still sitting in somebody's present life, because we can see whether that's in love or whether it's in wealth, their career, their money. And because they also have cards of the months, I kind of use these cards not just as a month, but because there's 12 of them, it's kind of like a scale of 1 to 12. If I want to see how big is the impact of the past trauma in the present, I might, you know, make a request in my reading on a scale of 1 to 12. How big is this, you know, what greater proportion of that pie chart is this trauma currently taking up in the kind of energetic space of this person? And, you know, January, if it showed up, would be, you know, out of a scale of 1 to 12 would be 1, so pretty minimal, pretty low, not too much work to do to resolve this. But if it's December, we're looking at 12, which means there's a massive part of that pie chart being taken up currently, and so there's quite a lot of work to do. So we're going to possibly draw additional cards around what can be done to assist that process. So really interesting how we can use different packs for different things. Now, the Art of Manifestation Oracle cards, these are my own pack, many of you will know this. I wrote these very specifically with quite a lot of information. So this can tell you about, really, it can get very specific, not just about what's going on, what it's connecting to, but also what you need to do to move things forwards, and also assist you with any kind of advice and guidance as to what can be done right here and right now to literally initiate those choices and those areas of potential choice, which of course is really key to healing. I've also chosen the Enchanted Map because I feel the Enchanted Map really is an absolutely delightful pack in terms of mapping a way forwards. So I'll often use these cards very specifically if I'm dividing a reading to do with trauma or difficulty or recovery. If I'm looking at the past, I'm looking at the present, and then I want to look at where we go from here. The Enchanted Map will really lay out a pathway forward. So they're a delightful oracle to use in that way. But again, you can use any cards. These are just some of my faves that I use in this specific area. And lastly, this is the one of the astrology packs that I use. You've probably seen it in my readings. This pack, I feel, really helps to identify if there are any major astrological happenings that are taking place in your reader's life, your seeker's life, that may be giving you a clue as to what kind of soul growth lessons are being maneuvered or influenced, let's say, by the planetary alignments, by the stars. Now, if you also do astrology alongside your readings, you may well be aware of what's happening in your chart. But if you are purely and simply doing a reading, these cards are highly likely to give you some additional astrological information. Not only will it help you to identify what's going on and what can be done to aid recovery, but it can be really helpful to give that information to the person within the reading, because they can go off and do a little bit of research themselves, look at their chart. And the amazing thing with astrology is that if there's a particular transit or a particular influence going on, it can be really grounding and really helpful to recognize that there is an end date. This is one of the things that my beloved sister Jocelyn, who is a brilliant astrologer, always says. One of the real benefits of doing an astrology chart for somebody is if they're really in deep water and they're really struggling with something, and she can see immediately there's a very powerful transit going on, she can kind of tell them when this is going to finish, and then they can actively look at how to manage that energy, that influence, what the core level of soul growth is. And that's again where readings can then really assist along the way. So let's now clear the decks, and we're going to do 3 readings. We will draw 3 sets of cards. We're going to use these 3 crystals as well, so we'll bring in some more information about the way that crystals can assist our readings in the recovery of trauma or loss. And we will dive into 3 very in-depth readings. Because it's a tutorial, I'm going to be talking a lot more than I would in a standard pick a card reading, because I'm going to really tell you about my process, what I'm thinking, why I'm asking specific questions, why I'm drawing on specific cards, and we will literally go with the flow with the central question of, can we have advice and guidance as to how to pick yourself up after a trauma or a loss. We'll look at the past, we'll look at the present, and we'll also be looking at advice and guidance to see how we move forwards from the here and now into creating a very different future. Okay, so we're going to do this as a pick a card reading. I'm going to use the Wild Unknown Alchemy pack. I will of course list all the cards that I've used below so you can locate them. And the reason I'm choosing this pack is because ultimately, if we are looking at recovery from trauma, from loss, we're looking at an alchemical process of change. So these feel for me to be a really fitting pack of cards to draw our 3 cards from. And in fact, actually, before I do these, let me just draw the crystals out as well. So this crystal is green calcite. This is a memory stone. It's known as a memory stone. It puts us in touch with memories, whether it is something we are consciously aware of or something that's hidden. So it seems very appropriate to bring this into reading number 1. Reading number 2, I have 2 amethyst points. Amethyst is known as a master healer as a crystal, so really beautiful energy of healing. And for reading number 3, I've chosen a piece of carnelian. Carnelian is, I just feel it's a stone that brings courage, strength, resilience, determination. It's got a real solid see you through to the finish line, get it done, get this sorted kind of feel about it. So lovely energy. So we're going to use those 3 crystals as a sort of a starting point as well, just to assist people in being guided into whichever reading is, or indeed readings will be working for them. And as we shuffle these cards, we are asking for information and advice to assist people in recovering, picking themselves up, recovering and moving on from trauma or loss. I'm seeing 2 cards here, and I think we're going to use both. And I'm also seeing the card on the top here as well. Okay. So for reading 1, we have Eris Copper. Okay, we hold that up. Now this is interesting already, as I said, because this is a tutorial and not just a pick a card reading. I will tell you what I think as I see it. I'm kind of seeing Venus here, okay, and also we have the emblem of the East. Now copper is interesting because it is very transformative as a metal. It's very healing, and Venus, of course, is about love. It's about relationships, and the East is about new beginnings, if we look at the East point on a medicine wheel. So I think we're already seeing some information coming through. We wouldn't, of course, necessarily, in a standard pick a card reading, I wouldn't necessarily be sharing that, but I'm going to do that because that's just already what I'm picking up on. And in these tutorials, I will always kind of give you my process from the moment that we start the readings. Reading number 2, we have Autumnus, autumn. Now this is interesting because what we have here is the emblem of a tree here with almost like an egg shape in it. Now this is amethyst, it's a master healer, what we have here as well is the emblem of the South Node here, which is, of course, the South Node is about looking back, so I would say healing the past. We also have this little symbol here of Earth, and it's quite interesting that we have an Earth symbol on quite a fiery background. So I'm just going to hold that in my mind for reading number 2. And reading number 3, we have nebula, fog. Okay, very, very interesting, very different energy, actually very different colorings here. And fascinating that this has come out, this fog energy has come out with carnelian, which is really about actually getting things done and being able to persevere, find determination, find courage to sort of see through fog. So very, very fascinating that we have quite a lot of information already. Now, my apologies if that's too much information at this stage, but as a tutorial, I will always be sharing what I'm thinking in far more depth. I will leave the video running for a few moments so that you can just realign yourselves with whatever you are feeling in these readings. Because it's a tutorial, I would actually suggest, even if you are drawn to one or another or more than one anyway, irrespective of that, as a tutorial, I would suggest that you actually watch all 3. You know, the purpose of the tutorial really is about learning, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see how the information comes through in these readings in terms of you taking that knowledge forwards into your own readings, whether you're doing them for yourself, for your friends, family, or whether you are doing that professionally as a reader for other people. So I'll leave it running for just a few moments, and I will see you in the readings. So beautiful, reading number 1, people. Now, whether you are watching this because you've been guided into it and it was really resonating with you, or you are watching this just because it's part of the tutorial, this card is already speaking to me of transformation, but particularly within love, new beginnings within love. And because of the memory stone here, I am wondering if part of the trauma that's being activated here already, this is what's happening with me in my thinking. I'm wondering if in meeting someone new, what is taking place, you know, sometimes we can trundle along if we've been heartbroken, damaged within relationship, traumatized by relationship, even though we long to be in a new relationship. When we do then have the opportunity for a new relationship, it triggers all kinds of memories. And we kind of revisit those fears, and sometimes we can even project those fears onto the new person that we've met, almost anticipating that it's all going to go wrong again. These are the kinds of things that are going on within my own thinking patterns just from this card and from this stone alone. And it's very interesting, in the book that comes with these cards, there's a little note to one side that says, the Statue of Liberty is actually made of copper. It's one of the largest copper monuments in the world. And I'm very thoughtful about the Statue of Liberty, about freedom, being invited to free yourself from some aspect of memory that is stopping you from progressing and having new beginnings in love. But let's draw cards and see what we are shown. Now, in light of what I'm already feeling, I'm actually going to dive straight into the Tarot of Opposites. I want to see if there's any conflict, or Tarot of Oppositions, I believe it is rather. I want to see if there's any conflict around love. And I think I'm also going to then dive into some of the Oracle packs as well. So let's just see what we are initially shown. We're going to draw some tarot cards for this reading. We are asking, you know, for information, guidance for reading number 1 to do with where they've come from, what kind of conflict is in the way right here and right now from them moving forwards, and I would suggest potentially within love. So I'm seeing this card and these two, this one this one, and I just want to have a look and see what is on the bottom. Okay, so we have 5 of Wands. This is a card of competition. Okay, so isn't this interesting? Look, competition. I'm kind of thinking that maybe reading number 1 has had an experience of, there's been some aspect of competitiveness within relationship. They may have had a very jealous partner previously who restricted them or tried to block them from either being themselves, but there's definitely some aspect of competition. They may even have found themselves in a tangle where they liked 2 people and couldn't make a decision, you know, in the early stages. That this may actually also be what's around them at the moment. Maybe if they've started to date again, there's more than one person on the scene and they're really concerned about getting it right because there have been problems in the past. They're worried about getting this right. So let's place this card here as a potential area of conflict that connects to the past and is showing us kind of something that's going on. It could even mean that they've fallen in love in the present with somebody who maybe they don't feel is fully available. That could be a projection of their fears. You know, they're fearful that it's going to go wrong, but actually they could be projecting the idea that will this person be faithful to them? Will this person genuinely be dedicated? Or will there always be a competitive streak? There could be some aspect of inequality as well. Maybe they've met somebody and they're not sure whether they're going to meet on equal terms. All of these things are kind of coming through at the moment with this card alone. We then have the 7 of Swords. Okay, so the 7 of Swords enables us to contemplate choices here. Okay, and it's very, very interesting as a card, whether you look at it, I'm going to say whichever way up you look at it. Okay, this way up we have chains here around the swords. But it's interesting, there's still a sunset here. And then taking up arms, choices. I feel with the chains here, we're seeing that defenses are involved here. There's a fear, I think perhaps jealousy. This is reinforcing this perspective of jealousy, or somebody is already tied up with someone else. It's complicated here. Somebody isn't quite free to, you know, actually be available to make the kind of choices that are maybe being offered, or there certainly may be fears around this. Now, I'm not sure at the moment whether this is to do with the past or whether it's to do with the actual present. I'm saying that this is activated at the moment. And what we then see is the 6 of Swords. So there is a possibility here that we're being shown. With the 6 of Swords, it's kind of like, I always feel in some cards it's depicted as an opportunity to move forwards, but we're not through the choppy waters yet. And in this card, when there is an opportunity to move forwards, but actually the boat is still on dry land, you've got to wait for the tide to come in. So it seems to me there's going to be a period of waiting. There's going to be something that has to be processed to kind of make this potential possible. So we then have the Page of Wands. Okay, now this is very, very interesting because the Page of Wands, it's a very fiery energy. It can happen very quickly. It would suggest as well, the Page energy is very young, immature almost. You know, the Page energy is quite fast moving, and the Page of Wands is especially fast moving. So I'm feeling like, interesting, isn't it? The reverse of this card, the shadow side, he's looking really quite a little bit, I'm going back to the jealousy again aspect here. There's a lot of passion. I'm going to say there's a lot of passion in this, I think, this existing situation. A lot of attraction. Yeah, loads of attraction. Look what we have here now. We have the 2 of Cups. So we are seeing a ton of attraction here. I think this reading is saying that there's somebody new in this person's life. You know, whether that is you because you're drawn to the reading, or whether it is because, you're looking at it as the tutorial. I think someone new is here. We've got new love. We've got 2 of Cups. But it's very, very interesting. It's kind of like, this could be amazing. It's so loaded with hope and possibility. But equally, it's triggering loads of anxieties about that connect to jealousy, connect to possessiveness, connect to competition, connect to will I be good enough? And it may be the other person is also thinking, will I be good enough? We're going to ask some more questions around this, but we're seeing a massive potential. But I'm also seeing, that there's a lot of potential discord here. I just feel there's a lot of insecurity surrounding this connection. Curiously, I think it could come from both sides, which is very, very interesting. So that would suggest that there is the potential for a healing here, because if two people who both have insecurities can kind of openly talk about them, then there is real potential to build something. And our final card is the card of the Tower. The Tower is initiating change. The Tower is in many ways an opportunity, I think, to build from the rubble. It kind of says, look, the tower is going to fall. What are you going to do with this? What kind of choices are you prepared to activate? What kind of decisions are you going to make? So we have an indication here already about the way forwards, which is really building from the learning. So I'm sitting here in a dual place with this card, because on the one hand, we've got the crown falling here. The tower has been hit by lightning. So I'm thinking, is this a kind of a trust your gut feeling? Has the seeker of this reading met somebody who actually could be repeating those jealous patterns? They might be offering love, but actually be quite jealous under the scenes and you haven't yet seen it? Or is it just that previous patterns have been activated? There could be an issue of dependency with the chains on these swords. So we're as a general reading, being given quite a lot of information, potential different scenarios. I'm going to place that here because however we look at it, there is learning from the past to be gained here. We can rebuild from the rubble, whether we are rebuilding this person's or your trust in yourself, in your right to choose, your right to say no to something that, to make a decision, to evaluate. I kind of as well with the Two of Cups here. I want to say you have the right to take your time, test the waters, find out, is this person going to be genuinely responsive to you? Or are they actually going to be a little bit stroppy and a little bit difficult and throw their toys out of the pram? Are they going to kind of like push you away? Are they going to be intermittent? Are they going to be, forward and joyously giving? Or are they coming with an agenda? I sort of feel there's a testing of the waters to take place here, because what we are being shown with the Tower is one way or the other, I think you're going to find out. We're in a place of new beginnings. The Six of Swords tells us or suggests that there is potential here to move something forwards, but the tide hasn't come in yet. So time is needed to observe these things, to test the waters, to maybe separate the past from the present, to recognize which of your emotions and which of your thinking patterns belong to the past, which of them are memories, and which of your emotions are present and correct in terms of your feelings now. This is a very good opportunity actually to just talk briefly as part of the reading as to why I'm about to ask a specific question and draw some cards around it. So my specific question is going to be about emotions that are connected to the past and emotions that are relevant to the present, and I'm going to draw cards for both. The reason I'm doing this is because, going back to our bowl of pasta, if you enter a new relationship after you have been hurt, damaged, traumatized, then it is totally understandable that you're anxious. The question is, if you start to mistrust somebody, is that because you are anxious about the past and memories, those emotional scars have been reactivated? Is that what those emotions are about? Or is this person in the present genuinely triggering some current emotions that are saying from your gut, I don't know if I can really trust this person? Okay, so I'm wanting to separate here and ask questions about emotions in the past and emotions in the present and see what we're shown. Now for this, I'm going to use the tea leaf cards. May we please request information? Okay, in fact, before I use this main pack, I'm going to bring these out and I'm going to ask on a scale of 1 to 12, okay, on a scale of 1 to 12, how strong are emotions that are connected to the past? That is a helpful guidance for us. How strong are emotions that are connected to the past? May we please have information? February 2. This is interesting. So actually the emotions that are being felt are at a 2 out of 12. So they're not actually that strong. So that's quite useful. So it means whatever emotions are present, we need to listen to them with this reference point. It would suggest, yes, the past is being activated, but we're very much in a zone of the East, the new beginnings. So we don't have to be overly concerned that this person is consumed by past feelings. There's a reference point to the past, but they're not overly consumed by them. And even the imagery of what looks like, I think, a north wind blowing, they're blowing, you know, to the west. If the east is that way in our reading, west is that way. They're blowing away, blowing stuff away. So they're moving away from the past. I feel reading number 1 people have really predominantly put the past behind them. They recognize, I think, with a level of consciousness that things can be activated, and maybe they have a heightened alert to noticing what's going on. But predominantly their emotions are going to be registering in the present. So that's kind of helpful. Let's now look. May we have some information about the past? Okay. I'm going to do a little bit more shuffling there. Okay. I think that's too many for me. So I will just take the one on the top and the one on the bottom. Now, I'm also going to now draw cards, tea leaves. I want to know a little bit about the present. What's happening? What emotions are present in the present? Okay, this has also come out and that has also come out. Let's have a look and see what we have. So, past emotions, good fortune, the sun. We have, this is happiness and well-being, spiritual guidance, protection from harm, and goldfish, increase in material wealth or spiritual growth. Okay, so I think this is telling us that for reading number 1 people, I think you've really done the work. I think you really have resolved a lot of stuff from the past. You've grown from it, you've built from it. And I would say, reading number 1 people, you are very, very, very ready for new love, for good fortune, for happiness. But let's really, to gauge what these are about, let's look at what's taking place in terms of emotions and feelings in the present. So we have throne, position of authority. We have climbing towards success, the ladder. We have dark man, dealings or relationship with a man with a dark complexion or hair. And we have an owl, good advice from a wise person. Okay, this is very, very interesting indeed. Now, I did say earlier, I wondered in terms of the competitiveness, I mentioned inequality. I actually feel, reading number 1, that you've achieved a lot. Okay, I think you've done well for yourself, despite damage within relationship, despite trauma. You've been able to process things. You've done well for yourself. I think you've processed and worked through an awful lot. You're very aware. You recognize if you recognize that there's some past stuff in play, and understandably you're perhaps cautious and you're wanting to check things out. I think also that part of what took place in the competitiveness, the jealousy, the previous stuff actually was also to do with the fact that I think you are fundamentally quite a successful person. Now, whether that is in material wealth or just in an ability to manage your own life, I think you are fundamentally a pretty healthy person. And I think that has meant that you've drawn into your life in the past people who probably would have kind of wanted to be with you. They'd have wanted and been attracted to your success, your wealth, but they wouldn't necessarily have wanted to give as much in return. One of those setups, those dynamics in relationships where almost the envy and the jealousy isn't with another person, it's actually within the relationship itself, where one half of the partnership is perhaps very motivated, successful, hardworking. The other person is not really wanting to step up. They kind of want everything that this person has to give, that you have to give, reading number one. They want everything you have to give, but they don't really want to have to step up and be your equal. And in a way, it means that it's been really quite hard, I think, because they've ended up sort of wanting what you give them but resenting you for it, because ultimately the resentment is a mirror of the fact that they have not themselves stepped up. Okay, there's been a dynamic of inequality, and I think it's been quite hard for you to meet your equal, actually, because you're hardworking, because you're dynamic, because you have a spiritual aspect to your well-being. You have a really good level of awareness, reading number one. And because of that, I think you also probably now have a recognition that you need to find the right person for you. And I think you recognize that this can be out of balance quite quickly. There can be a lot of sort of childish resentment acted out if somebody can't kind of meet you, I won't say on equal terms in terms of stuff, but on equal terms in terms of their fundamental input. I think you're looking for somebody who can meet you very equally, who doesn't need to kind of knock you off your throne. Someone who actually is prepared also to climb towards success with you. And by success, I'm talking about happiness and well-being, being open, being available. Someone who doesn't come in with an ulterior agenda. And I think you are on the lookout for that. What is lovely is I think you're on the lookout for it within the present, rather than, it's like you've learned from the past. So the place it holds in the past is of a very helpful memory. You know what you don't want. Now, what is around? We have dark man, dealings or relationship with a man with dark complexion or hair. So reading number one, there is someone around you, the energy of someone here. Now we have good advice from a wise person. We have the owl. So this would suggest that someone around you, and it may be that this is the person who advises you. It may not be the person coming into your life. It could be, but it could also be somebody who is able to offer you advice to help you to see what's kind of going on here. Because I think there is some emotional content here. I think you're looking at this from a position of really genuine awareness. Now, the fact that we had the Six of Swords here. In fact, let's put these cards, just going to move these out the way for a moment. The fact that you have the Six of Swords would suggest that the tide needs to come in. Something needs to be seen for you to really be able to kind of make some clear decisions to see whether this can move forwards. Is this going to be a ladder to success? You know, is this person able to respect I guess your achievements, your success, and kind of still be with you? Good advice from a wise person. Very, very interesting cards here. Let's see what we can draw now to have a little look at where this is going. Now, ultimately, we're asking about picking yourself up after trauma or loss. Fascinatingly, what this reading is sort of saying is that I actually think, reading number one, you actually have picked yourself up after trauma and loss. I think you're quite a long way along the pathway of recovery. However, I think you have a vulnerable spot, which is within relationships. I suspect you've been very successful in your working world, in your spiritual world, in your unique world. I think you've become very self-resilient, self-reliant, and I think your area of trauma and vulnerability is to do with relationship and almost like believing in the possibility that what you actually want can happen. You can really genuinely meet somebody who can support you in your success rather than feel as though they have to, I don't know, knock you off your, if you're at the top of your game, knock you off the top of your game through their own envy and their own difficulty. I don't think you're particularly judgmental around these kinds of things. I think you genuinely know what you're looking for. You know, you're not looking for somebody who has to meet you financially on equal terms, but you do need somebody who can support you rather than see you, through the eyes of envy or jealousy. This has been the area that I think has been a struggle and been quite traumatic for you. So we're really wanting to ask advice and guidance now. We can see what the trauma is. We can see your area of vulnerability that is still present to you or being activated by the potential of this new relationship or a new phase in a relationship if someone's come back into your world or reopened a door. However we look at it, how is this going to progress forwards? We're now asking for some kind of a validation, because if we think about how a reading will help someone, I think in this instance, the area that reading number 1 are going to be needing to see is, what is the real potential of this? You know, what is the real potential of this? What do they need to see? Does this relationship have the fullest potential? What kind of components would they be compromising over if they stay in this relationship? Should they continue to invest? Are those little niggles and worries, are they really founded? Is this person trying to use them to climb up the ladder? Or is this person really wanting to walk alongside them? Honour your personal growth, your personal availability. What do you need to see? Now, we know good advice is going to come from a wise person, but let's just ask your angels. Reading number 1, may we ask for information about this relationship? It's a current relationship, that's what I'm seeing. Leo, shine. Ah, how very interesting. Okay, move those over. Okay, may we have more information, please, for reading number 1. 12th house, introspection. Okay, I'm seeing this card too. Aquarius, collaborate. And your last card here, Midheaven Pinnacle. Okay. I think this is really interesting. So what I'm seeing here, fundamentally, the most primary advice and guidance that's being given for reading number 1 is absolutely be yourself. Celebrate yourself. Don't dim yourself down in order to make somebody else feel better about themselves. I think you shining is going to create a situation where they are, they're either going to, well, curiously enough, I think that they will collaborate. I think they will see you. They want to connect with you. They want to work with you. They want to. I think you are an inspiration to them. I really do. I think the key here, curiously enough, I think you really could be at a point where you can achieve. I mean, we have the Tower card here, and we have the Midheaven Pinnacle, this castle. I'm just going to place this down here actually for a moment so we can see everything. My apologies for shifting all the cards around, but it seems an easier way of doing this. I do actually think we're being shown that this has a huge amount of potential. The good advice, though, I think, is to take it one step at a time and really, really trust your inner guidance, your inner gut feeling. I'm coming back down here again to this Six of Swords. There's something here about letting this person emerge and evolve at their own pace, okay? Being you, remaining you, almost being sure to keep your own autonomy within relationship, your own freedom, the Statue of Liberty. Wholeheartedly following your own pathway, being yourself, not backing away from what you yourself are doing as you climb your own ladder. Continue to climb your own ladder. I think this person has great potential, and I think there will come a point when it will be very, very clear as to whether or not you actually wish to continue with this and take it further forward. But right here, right now, it is almost as if there is a waiting period of discovery, whereby you are able to be yourself, shine, and see whether you as an inspirational person to this other person will assist them in stepping up and meeting you, supporting you, or whether that will kind of, it's either going to knock them off balance or it's going to bring them into balance. This reading is suggesting that they will come into balance because of you, reading number one. Very mindful, I'm sort of switching from talking to you as if I'm doing the tutorial and talking to you as reading number one people, but let me just focus on reading number one, beautiful people. We can see the area of vulnerability. I actually think this is somebody who may well step up, but he or she has got to do it in his or her or their own time. They've got to kind of do their own reviewing. They've got to do their own introspection on the basis of seeing how amazingly you've dealt with the past. They will then be able to kind of, it's like you become a kind of a role model rather than you being an actively powerful instigator of change, as in like a teacher. You're a role model rather than a teacher. And that keeps you on an equal footing. The moment we step into almost like a teacherish or a parenting kind of role, then the power imbalance is not okay. But as equal people, if you are simply you and you remain in balance, you become an inspiration for them to recognize that they too can leave the past behind. Because what is interesting is there is a mirror between you. Both of you are ready for new beginnings, reading number one. You're ready for a new beginning. You've done the work. I think they're ready for a new beginning. And there will be something in their history and their previous relationships that connects also to freedom, the right to be themselves, the ability to be themselves, their entitlement to be successful in their own right, to be valued in their own right. There is a definite mirror of something, even though I think your circumstances are very different. There is a real mirror in the depth of the emotional memories and histories. I'm actually curious, on a scale, I'm going to take this back for a moment because I want to use this, but with the person that's coming into your life, so for you, reading number one, it was 2 on a scale of 1 to 12. May we please ask for the person coming into your life, or who this is about, this connection, what is the scale of the intensity of their memories, the activity of their memories, their March? So actually, they're not far off you. You're February, they're March. So actually, on a scale of 1 to 12, the past is dominating them at a scale of 3 out of 12. For you, it's 2 out of 12. So I think they'll catch up with you quite quickly. The tide will come in. Then they're like one step behind you. That's what I feel. I think there is great potential, reading number one, in terms of recovery from trauma and indeed potentially loss, endings of relationships or an ending of a relationship, I actually think there is a massive potential in this new relationship around you to collaborate in your healing, to kind of climb the heights, to overcome the difficulties that held you back, for you both to shine, for you both to climb your own ladders of success and support one another, for you to be who you are in liberty, freedom, you know, to be yourselves without hindering the other person's progress, and through being together support one another's progress. I think there is a mirror. Both of you have experienced some sort of either loss of freedom or a curbing of who you felt you could really be within your own identity and the success of your own identity. I think both of you in your own way have overcome some of these things. I think this person is one step behind you, but only one step behind you, reading number one. And actually, the recovery part that we're seeing here is that this relationship is part of that recovery, because you can collaborate. I think this could be an incredibly successful relationship where you both have the ability to independently shine, and you both have the ability to really understand yourselves better because of one another, in a way that actually will really create a resolution and a move away, a climb away, a rebuilding of the tower from any aspect of the lack of someone, any aspect of relationship that ultimately has left you feeling vulnerable and unable to be your full self within the world. Well, I am loving this reading. Reading number one. It's turned into a long reading, but that's partly because it's a tutorial, and I hope you've been able to bear with me with the sort of jumping from the tutorial bit to this is reading number one. But I hope this is making sense. For those of you that were drawn to it as a reading, I hope this is resonating and making sense, and I hope it's also making sense in the subject matter, which is, how do you pick yourself up after trauma? You know, can we be given advice and guidance? This is very specific. It's about relationship trauma, very specifically connected to jealousy, envy, one person needing to be over controlling of another. And it is fascinating how we can come together, I think, and when we are ready, you know, 2 out of 12, 3 out of 12, when we are ready to actually embark in it's like taking the risk to have a new relationship, that we can draw to us someone who mirrors that stage of healing, and together that healing can actually be an incredibly collaborative, supportive place to be, really, where you can take each other to the heights. I mean, this is really super lovely. So, reading number one, and any of you who are just watching it as a tutorial, thank you so much. All of you on Patreon, thank you so much. And if you're joining me here just for the 48 hours on YouTube, and you'd like to consider joining us on Patreon, please do consider doing so. It's the place where I also post all my big extended readings for all zodiac signs. But tons of love to you all, Patreon people. Thank you so much. Your support of me and my work is absolutely appreciated. You are cherished, and I do hope you're enjoying the content over on Patreon. Tons of love to you. Let's move on to reading number two. Hey, beautiful reading number two. This is so interesting because this feels like a point of culmination. You know, autumn is a point where we bring in the harvest, and it's very interesting as I kind of connected in with the amethyst crystal, the master healer. We are looking back. We've got the south node here and the earth sign, and yet there's a lot of fire in the background, or it looks like a very fiery energy. So I'm actually going to draw from the Akashic Tarot for this reading. First of all, I think I'm going to use the Akashic Tarot and also the Art of Manifestation Oracle cards. Those are the cards that I'm really being drawn to. I think on two counts, it's really interesting. Even the colours, I sort of feel, you know, the earthiness of autumn. We've got the green here. So I'm going to draw from the Akashic because I feel like there's a completion of something here. So whatever the trauma, the loss that has been processed, reading number 2, I feel like there is potentially some completion of something, so it could be generational for you as well. Now, let's draw from the Akashic Tarot, because this is wonderful. It could even be a past life issue that's being worked through here as well. Let's just draw from the Akashic Tarot first of all for our beautiful reading number 2 people, and indeed those watching as a tutorial. I want to check out the card on the reverse as well. Interesting, we have Archangel Michael in reverse. Now I'm seeing this card in a very specific way actually. So Archangel Michael is about courage. Look at the, I don't know if you can see this, but look at the shape of that heart across his chest here. It's really, really similar in colour and shape to this tree. It's almost as if it has the branches of the tree within it. And I think this is just so interesting. And behind here we see a tree with orange autumn colours here as well. So Archangel Michael, it's about courage. I feel like in reverse, it's letting us know that something has come to an end. I think you had to step up. You had to find the courage to resolve something, even potentially to do something differently, to not follow generational patterns. That's part of the trauma and the loss. What I do think is it's definitely time to lay something to rest, to heal, and actually to be liberated. Now, it may be that something is popping up again and again and you're struggling to put it down. What do we have here? So we have the Akashic Field, one of forces. This is also in reverse, but we can see the Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights here. Very interesting. The fact that it is in reverse, I feel, is actually an invitation to you to look ahead, feeling that really, really clearly. We have card number 1. So we've got an ace card here, one of forces. Card number 1, the Oracle of Delphi. This is about perspectives and perceptions, information channeling through. And what this card actually speaks about is when information channels through, it's not only receiving and seeing the information, it's then how we interpret it. Okay. The Six of Forces, the card of the waterfall, is telling us that something is absolutely ready to move forwards, and to move forwards emotionally. I do feel you are being really guided and invited to look ahead. Queen of Forces, to bring yourself back into balance. Yes, whatever has previously knocked you off balance, I feel you've had to really step up. Reading number 2, people. This is one of those amazing, where I just sit here, I feel so humbled, and I, launch into that place of huge, huge respect and gratitude for you being you. I think you've really had to step up, and particularly probably in your childhood, I think you've possibly had to really step up and carry, gosh, I feel like you were launched into adulthood before you were grown up. You know, when you're in a child's age, a child's body, and you are launched into a place where you carry way more responsibility than any child should ever have to do. You've faced more as a child than any child should have to face. You kind of probably felt very, very alone at times. You were never alone in terms of your spiritual guides, but actually you probably as a child felt very alone. It's time to sort of come into your own, actually. I'm enjoying this card very much, the Queen of Forces. Let's draw from the Art of Manifestation Oracle cards too. So we are asking all about picking yourself up from trauma, where you go from now, what the future can be like. Can we have information, please? Okay, Also going to look on the reverse as well, problems. This card asks you to view any problems as an opportunity rather than a crisis. Whenever we identify a problem, our very recognition and acknowledgement of this difficulty creates an opportunity to seek a potential solution. As long as a problem remains unseen or indeed denied, the doorway to a potential solution remains closed. Perception. Yes, if something comes along that feels like it's a challenge, actually, or a difficulty, honestly, it's not. Actually, if you shift your perspective, everything will flow. Bless your past. Oh, wow, this is super lovely. So bless your past. This is just a useful tool. This card gives lots of information. A useful tool to help us to let go of any emotional residue that is still clinging to us from a past experience is to bless your past. Whenever the memory of an event or person comes to mind, pause and say to yourself, I bless every aspect of my past and I celebrate the contribution that it gave me in becoming the person that I am today. Beautiful energy, beautiful energy. It's really time to lay something to rest. Walk your talk. Become what you believe. Are your thoughts, words and actions in alignment with your core inner values? This card asks you to walk your talk, become your own personal hero or heroine and step into the very best version of yourself. This is interesting, radiating authenticity into the world. Yeah, I feel like you had to step up as a child. I think you were thrown into adulthood way before you should ever have been an adult. What's really amazing is that it actually has given you a considerable amount of authority. You're able actually to take charge of situations. You're able to do stuff. But there's a very big point of shift, point of healing. I always used to say in my counselling practice, it's when we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Okay, so when we have to do stuff as children and we learn these incredible skills, these incredible life skills, these management skills, we become efficient, we become good at things, we become good at problem solving. We don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We keep the skills we've learned, but we learn when to use them so they are no longer being used on autopilot, because otherwise the very things that we have learned to put in place because we had to, so for example, becoming very self-reliant, self-sufficient, that will be the very thing that will then block you from being able to move forwards and have the life that you want for yourself. Now, reading number 2, I think there is an incredible period of opportunity around you. And the key to your recovery, you're so being asked to look forwards rather than look back, beyond. If your past appears, it's like developing techniques, again, perception is everything. If something pops up, it doesn't mean it's a repeating pattern. It means it's an opportunity for you to recognize that something is being niggled, a button's being pressed, and actually you choose to bring yourself back into balance. You develop the skills to be able to just put it down. You actually have these amazing life skills that have come from childhood, where you were forced almost by circumstances to grow up very, 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 very quickly. But it also means the residue of that is, A, you have amazing skills. On the other hand, it also means that you tend to anticipate problems, because you're always on the lookout to anticipate where something might go wrong. Because if you can anticipate where it might go wrong ahead of the game, you've put everything into place in order to make sure that you've combated every possible outcome. This, I think, is getting to a point where it's being overworked. This cycle needs to come to a completion. It's really important to not throw the baby out with the bathwater, but not be on autopilot to the point where this is overactive. There are new opportunities around you, so something else is going on around you. Now, it could be that there's something you're perceiving as a problem, which is actually creating an opportunity for you, because there's a choice here. You've reached a turning point in your life. Do not be afraid of taking the wrong path. I can see exactly where this reading is going. When you recognize the learning to be found at every step and in every moment of your journey, you will realize there's no wrong way, only the infinite gain of your personal growth and evolution. It's very, very interesting. Actually, I think there is a real opportunity for you to really shift and approach things differently without trying to have to get it right. I think that's one of the things that has come in your life. It's really interesting. It's an aspect of trauma. I think part of the residue of trauma for you, reading number 2, is that you've got very good at getting everything right. You anticipate all the potential problems, the pitfalls. You're incredibly good at stuff, but it means that you kind of overdo it all of the time, I think, a little bit. Now, there is an opportunity for you to shift away from this, keeping your life skills, but actually also really, really choosing to give yourself the right to make some really significant choices. I'm going to say that are right for you as well, because there's stuff going on around you here that's bringing you an opportunity. We have the card of opportunity. Be alert, look beyond the obvious, be prepared for opportunities disguised as loss. If a new pathway opens for you, trust that it is leading you in the direction you're meant to go. So autumn, something is coming to a completion. If something appears to want to leave your life, let it go gracefully. And don't wobble about this. It's really, really okay. This card says, are you having a wobble? Whether a minor one or a major one, this is completely understandable. You're facing tough choices, but deep inside yourself, you know what you need to do. This card is here to validate your deeper knowing and the decisions you're making. We said earlier, one of the amazing healing attributes of a reading is that we validate where someone is at. We validate their inner knowing. There's a difference here between your perception, when you look through the lens of it might all go wrong, versus your perception of actually you're looking through the lens of the present. I'm having a wobble, but actually if I can center myself, ground myself, and also know that it's okay to make a mistake, it won't be the end of the world, I'm actually going to be able to remain balanced and actually move forwards. And whatever choice I make, that's my choice today. Tomorrow I can make another choice. This is a reading really encouraging liberation, a flow forward for you. Self-care. Self-care is not an act of selfishness, it's an act of consciousness. This card invites you to prioritize your own self-care. You may feel selfish, but to you, this may feel selfish to you, but in truth, when you attend to your own needs with love and care, you create an inner wealth that radiates into the world, impacting positively on all that you come into contact with. This is such a reading of validation. I do feel you are somebody who's unbelievably good at everything that you attend to, but you also then tend to over-attend to the potential problems. And actually it's one of those scenarios where the very skills you've learned, they've basically passed their sell-by date. You don't want to ditch them, but you want to only use them consciously. And also there is a huge possibility around you. Something's going on around you, reading number 2. Something is completing that's allowing you or offering you a new pathway, and it's a big leap for you. I can see that. It pushes you out of your comfort zone. And it is interesting, isn't it? Being in charge, actually, and being good at stuff does create quite a safe zone, because we never reach into the unknown. Okay, I am going to draw more cards for you. Beautiful reading number 2. Where is this going? What's this about? Let's draw some tea leaves. And please forgive my voice. I'm a little bit blocked up. I have hay fever, and the pollen count for the trees here is very high at the moment. So if I'm a little blocked up, that is all that it is. Now, let's see what these tea leaves are showing us. Boat. Money or property through an inheritance, winning or windfall. Ah, this is what's coming through. And bell, an announcement. Aha. Okay. Something is coming your way, or if it if it has, it may have done already. It's either with you already, something's coming your way, or it's going to. The question is, what are you going to do with it? I think it gives you a massive, massive opportunity to go in a whole new direction that is really, really, really right for you. I think your temptation will be to invest in everybody else, because that's what you've learned to do, to fix everybody else. Or, yeah, there could be a tendency to stay the same. Something is wanting to end in your life, and a new beginning is awaiting you, and the resources are coming to you, whether it's through a message, an announcement, or something actually coming to you. There is an opportunity that is arriving in your world. It creates both an ending and a new beginning, and this is an absolute time to adjust this fear, I think, because it is fear-based, this fear-based orientation that you can't actually ever really fully express yourself, be yourself. It's one of those bizarre, I see such a paradox here. Let's get the conflict cards, the Tarot of Oppositions. Let's ask about this conflict, because what I'm seeing in you is a part of you that's really, really good at stepping up because you've had to, and yet another part of you feels quite overwhelmed by responsibility. It's the duality. You do what you have to do because you have to, but you're also fearful of responsibility because you've been overwhelmed by it long before you were ready. It's time to move away. Keep those amazing life skills, but invest them in stepping up in a way that is really, really going to further your own direction. May we have information around this conflict for reading number 2, please. Okay, the cards that we have are, so we have Queen of Pentacles. Yeah, so this is a fear of ownership. Yeah, being able to really look in the mirror and believe that you are worthy of what you would like. Yeah, it's really hard for you to own what you want for yourself. We then have the Ten of Swords, which is telling us that this situation really needs to come to an end. The 10 is a point of turn. It's an ending. It's an opportunity. And then the Four of Cups. Yes, which really asks you not to hold on to something that doesn't work for you anymore. There's aspects of your self-care mechanisms that actually work against you rather than for you. Again, one of those scenarios where you look after everybody else because that's what you had to do, and it formed a protective barrier around you. But actually, it's now got to a point where it's depriving you of what you need. There is some sort of defense mechanism here that is the result of trauma, of loss, I think in childhood, of being pushed into an adult position of responsibility that is now in the way of you being able to have, to achieve, to take an ownership of your own fullest potential. Something is coming into your world. I feel with this boat, I feel like it's kind of like we're hearing that saying, you know, this boat has sailed. You know, this boat has sailed. It's time to ring in the new. We've got this bell ringing here. It's time to ring in the new. Yeah, Four of Cups. Don't hold on to something that is set in stone, something, a concrete way of viewing the world, or a concrete way of seeing the world, or a concrete way. There's only one direction. There isn't only one direction. There are many different directions, and whatever choices you make, you can always change your mind. This is like jump on board and have the experience, and know that your life skills will serve you in any situation. It's really, really time to embrace the new. Wow. This is the healing part of your reading. We're asking, how do you pick yourself up after trauma and loss? It is interesting. I do feel actually for you, reading number 2, what we're being shown within the reading is the recognition that the very mechanisms of protection that we put into place, the life skills that we develop, they are amazing, but they literally do have to be tweaked so that rather than them driving us, we are driving them. It's like we literally take the helm of the boat rather than the boat just trundling along under its own steam. This feels like a significant turning point. Now, this is a tutorial as well as a pick a card reading. What I will say, beautiful reading number 2 people, something has reached its natural completion. There's stuff going on in your world that is really, really creating a window of opportunity for you. Don't wobble. Trust, get still, recognize that whatever is wanting to leave or change because it's absolutely the perfect timing for it to do so. There is no need for this constant conflict between what might be right for you and what you should or shouldn't be doing for everybody else. It is absolutely time to launch that new ship. Take charge of the boat, steer it away and head off in the direction that feels completely right for you now. Your life skills will serve you at every turn of the road. I am loving your reading number 2. So, Super Souls, that wonderful energy of amethyst. Yes, you might want to carry an amethyst point with you, reading number 2, if you have a wobble at all, or meditate with that. But one way or the other, you are really at a significant turning point. And it may feel a bit blooming scary, but my goodness me, there is so much potential here for you. Tons and tons of love, my darlings, and I will move on to reading number 3. Hey, beautiful reading number 3. So I am going to dive straight into the Herbal Astrology cards. Now, my reason for this is because we're sitting in fog. It's as if somehow something is, we can't see the woods for the trees. And yet I have that sense of perseverance, persistence, courage, wanting to do something, but just not knowing how to fix it, not knowing how to do it. Actually, even a real sense physically of frustration. So in terms of our question and our focus in this tutorial and these readings, it may be that you are just, reading number 3, experiencing an inability to let something go or to move beyond the impact of trauma. Or you might find that just when you get on the level, something else comes in and kind of fogs you up again. If you think about fog, you know, fear, obligation, guilt. It may be you are emotionally drawn into something here time and again, and you're just getting sick and tired of it and feel like this is never ever ending. When will this stop repeating itself? I'm having a real sense of that kind of energy around this particular reading. And it may also be that the fog is in part because you're not quite sure of the origins of something. There may be something else in play. You may have thought that you peeled back all the layers in your present life and you're even looked at past lives, but there could be some component here that isn't seen by you, that is being played out, and because you aren't fully aware of what it is, it's as if you're not fully able to attend to it. That's also a message that is coming through here, with also the affirmation of, you know, do continue, persevere with this. We're going to get there. You know, I always think carnelian does what it says on the tin. It gets us to the finish line. So let's dive straight in and ask for information. Do we need information about, you know, what is this about? What's our anchor point here? What is the anchor point? What needs to be seen? What needs to be validated? What needs to be made clear for reading number 3? What is going to, what do we need to know really for reading number 3 to assist them in this current situation? We'll look at the card on the reverse too, Passion Flower, Surrender. I think you may be trying too hard to fix something actually here. Look at this, surrender. Out of this bowl here rises almost like a crystal ball or a moon. And we have 2 owls sitting here. We have Neptune and the moon. Okay, surrender. I actually think this is one of those times. Can you see that there is like the eye of an owl here in this card as well? And also, even though it's slightly shrouded, we have the colour of the carnelian. It looks really like that crystal. And likewise, we have the moon here, or the crystal ball shrouded, and yet here it's clear. So we have a really good indication already, really good guidance that says, look, slow it down. You don't have to make this happen. Yeah, retreat. Jupiter and the Sun. Retreat, Reishi. This is time to actually step away, to slow down, to stop trying to make something happen. Okay, I'm seeing things move forwards anyway, so this is really good. So first of all, we have the card of Reishi, retreat. We have lavender. Now look at this, we have a web here. Wonderful, wonderful web. And this beautiful figure here with Mercury, communication, winged messenger of the gods. I feel like you can receive. Lavender is the card of the weaver. Now lavender is a herb that is an adaptogen, which means that if you use lavender in conjunction with other herbs or other crystals, it takes the energy to the place it's needed, where the healing is needed. I feel like this is sort of saying, even if there is something that you are unaware of, that you can't see, it's kind of like calling you to trust, actually, that the healing can take place even if you don't fully see it. It's a bit like working in psychotherapy. I would describe it as almost like the difference between what I would call a long-term piece of work and a short-term piece of work. So in a long-term piece of work, we can take our time, and we know that maybe if we miss something that somebody says, it will come back up again. It's the same with a reading. It's the same with life. If we don't resolve something, it'll show up again and we get another chance to resolve it. And also in longer term work, we're really trying to identify the actuality of something. So we bring it into visibility for somebody so they can really see it clearly. In a short-term piece of work, we haven't got time for that. If somebody is allocated, let's say 6 sessions, we can't do that deep dive into the precise identification of where something's come from. But what we know in short-term therapy is that, let's say somebody is processing an experience in their present world, if they fix it in the present, they will actually attend to the situation in the past, even if we haven't identified and completely clarified what the roots of that are. You know, we are literally processing the experience through the energetic resonance in the present, and we're therefore processing and healing the past. We don't have to do the deep dives. For some people, it's really helpful. They want to do that. They want to go back. They want to identify with great clarity. But for other people at different times, it isn't always necessary. A short-term piece of work means that we can begin to weave a very different web, because in the present we are consciously choosing to do it differently. So I sort of feel like there's a lot of working overtime at this, trying to work out what's going on, where it's come from. And your reading is actually sort of saying, look, get clear, be present. We can weave something very different in the present through the realization of where we are right now and the presence of where we are right now. You may have an idea of where some of these things are coming from, but there is something about getting still, surrendering, getting present, and then doing what you actually can do, rather than trying to almost like deal with the enormity of stuff that you can't attend to. Yeah, it's like we've got this massive burning building here, and we've got this these mountains in the background, radiance. And what I'm seeing here is somebody here, they are running, there are hares of fertility, the deer of gentleness, and we have another deer here. This is an opportunity for you to almost like to leave, I want to say, to sort of to abandon the burning building, to leave it behind. You don't have to constantly try to attend to it in great detail. The information here is actually to kind of get still, get present. Everything in your reading, everything is moving forwards here. I think there's been enough revisiting of the past. In fact, you may even have been revisiting the past so much that you've ended up just getting fogged up in the past stuff and almost lost your footing in the present. It's very interesting. I always think in therapy, and I think the readings are not dissimilar sometimes. We're working with like a timeline. You know, if I was sitting with a counselling client, you know, I'm going to hold the past in one hand. I'm going to hold the future in the other hand, because we must always think about where we wish to be going to. But I also need to be with them in the present moment, because the point of power is always in the now. And your reading is really, really clear, reading number 3. This is about you getting present right here in the right here and right now. I was going to say right in the here and right in the now, but that's cool. The healing that's available to you is what you do now. You actually don't have to keep trying to attend to something in the past. The message is very clear. Yes, there are traumas from the past. I think for many of you, they go back generations, they go back past lives, they go back in time. It's almost as if you've got layer after layer after layer of stuff. And actually everything, can you see everything in your reading? It's all moving forwards. Everybody is looking in this direction. And be gentle. You need to find some peace. You know, I think you've been in turmoil for such a long time, and I would venture to say in turmoil for many lives, which is partly why you've come here, I think. Part of the karmic lesson here is to come here and just get to learn to be present, to learn to get still, to learn to surrender the past, to get still and to start to cherish the now, and also to take an ownership of the now. You don't have to be bound by the past anymore. I think part of your karmic pathway is to find inner peace. Look at this beautiful figure. She's just sunk into the earth here. Can you see that? Almost you could easily miss her, sleeping in the earth, being nurtured in the earth. It reminds me actually of the Native American traditions of burial, where people were literally buried, I say buried alive, not necessarily under the ground, you know, their head might still be showing, but, you know, it's like they go to earth. And while they are there, the part of that ceremony, that ritual, is to experience ultimately a profound healing. It's like at a cellular level, the earth takes back the trauma. I would venture to say for you guys, this is also, of course, a reading where we are asking very specifically how to pick yourself up after trauma, after loss. What advice, what guidance can we be given? How can readings help? A reading will give you an anchor point. It will also give you guidance and advice as to how to deal with things in the now. Do you need to look back? Or indeed, in this instance, do you need to actually focus yourself in the now with a view to moving forwards? And I would venture to say, if you find that you are continually wobbling or getting knocked off balance, then go out into the woods, or into anywhere outside where you can literally put your hands in the soil, or take off your shoes and put your feet on the soil, on the grass, on the ground. Literally get yourself grounded. If you're feeling really wobbly, an amazing thing to do is literally just to put your head on the ground. Kneel down, lie down, put your head on the ground, your forehead on the ground, on the earth. And truly, it's a really, really grounding, steadying experience. But what you are being told here, that whatever is constantly playing out, you don't actually need to constantly go back and try and fix it. The time has come to kind of almost lay it to rest and move forwards in a really practical, pragmatic, grounded, earthy kind of way, whilst giving yourself absolute permission to move forwards and move ahead. I'm actually going to use the Fairytale Tarot, I think, actually, for you guys. Let's just have a little look and see what we are shown here for reading number 3. Have a lovely array of cards. I'm using this as well because I almost feel as though there's a need to return to the child's view of the world, that point where everything is viewed from a place of wonder and a place of possibility, because children are very present, you know, literally in the moment. They see something and then, you know, animals are like that too. I always think when you look at dogs outside, you know, they can be ambling along and then suddenly they see a ball or they see something and off they go. They're 1000% present in the moment to what they see. And yes, they flit about from one thing to another, but in a constant state of wonder. And I feel that's what you are being invited to return to. That is what's going to open your eyes and remove the fog. Let's have a look at the card at the rear as well. Okay, yes, 5 of Hearts. Look at this beautiful reflection of the heart here. It's a beautiful star. It's like a guiding star. I feel like you need to re-find your North Star. You need to re-find your anchor point. And part of it, I just think you've tried so hard to fix the past, but in doing so, it's almost as if your anchor point has become the past. And this reading is saying to you, you don't need to do that anymore. We then have the Child of Hearts. Isn't that lovely? Returning to that child's perspective of wonder. So this is absolutely lovely. This is Goldilocks, the storytale, the fairy tale behind this card is Goldilocks and the 3 bears. Can you see them coming here? She's in a space of wonder. She finds this cottage in the woods and she looks through the window and she's hungry and she sees these 3 bowls of porridge and she goes in and she tries them all. You know, and actually, you know, the story unfolds, but she ends up, you know, becoming good friends with these bears. So she's curious. She has her curiosity. She's not fearful. We then have the Emperor's New Clothes, which is really interesting. This is the card of the Emperor. But again, it's really interesting. This is also about a child's perspective. When you think about it, the Emperor's New Clothes, the story of this is that this emperor is rather, I guess, rather egotistical. And these rather dishonest people come along and they boost his ego so much, they tell him that they're weaving him this amazing set of clothing, and the thread is so fine that it's invisible and you can't see it. And he gets taken in by this. And then it takes a child's perception to look at it and say, why isn't the emperor wearing any clothes? It's a child's perspective. You're being asked to return to that child's perspective. That is where your victory lies. 6 of Swords. Look at this. All for one and one for all. This is your point of celebration. It is a return to your innocence, a return to something has fogged you up. And yes, it does most definitely relate to previous lifetimes, to a genetic imprint, I think, as well. You know, with Carnelian, there's memories that are going back. The Rock Nation holds the memories of time. But also, there's the potential to see and build a new future. This is such a clear reading, reading number 3. It's really saying you don't have to be fogged, held in fear, obligation or guilt by the past. You don't have to fix things that other people did in previous lives, in previous generations. It is not your job to fix what has been done. Your job, actually, your task is to go to Earth, find your own anchor point, your own inner point of grounding, and to re-find your own innocence, to find your own North Star, to find your curiosity, to discover the honesty and the truth in things. And that is your radiance, that is your joy, that is your energy to move you forwards. That is your victory, that is your success. I'm loving your reading. Okay, I am going to draw from another pack. I'm actually going to draw, first of all, I think a tea leaf, or a couple maybe. May we have some information. Okay, here we go. So we have the card of bear, we have the card of cat. Look at the animals coming through here. We have the bird, news is on the way. We have the bear, which says danger, especially in money matters. I have to say with these tea leaf cards, I very often find that the information at the bottom is not always relevant to the reading. We then have cat, a two-faced friend. Okay, But what I'm going to say from this is, I actually think that what we're seeing here, it's very much connected to your reconnection to nature, to your reconnection to animal spirits, animal guides, to the purity of life and the purity of your own soul. I do think news is on the way. What I do think, you may also be surrounded by, or not surrounded, we all come into contact, okay, with people like the Emperor's New Clothes who are not entirely ethical. Now, it would be super lovely for me to say to you, you'll never meet anyone like that again. But that's not very realistic. The world is full of people who don't behave terribly well, unfortunately. There are, you know, tons of scammers out there. There are loads of people who are acting without integrity. We would be so foolish to pretend that they don't exist. We are, indeed, if we do pretend they don't exist, then we place ourselves in a very vulnerable position. You know, it's interesting, what comes to mind is the aspect of affirmations that we can use as part of our healing process. Now, if you've experienced somebody who was a bit two-faced, for example, it would be very, very foolish to create an affirmation for yourself that says, in order to heal from this, I'm going to create an affirmation that says, everyone in the world will be nice to me. You know, even though I've had an experience of somebody who was bad, you think, I'll create an affirmation of the opposite. Everyone in the world will be nice to me. Well, that's kind of a bit unrealistic, and ultimately, at a level of soul and realness, you won't believe yourself. A real affirmation would be to say, there are some people in the world who are absolutely lovely, and there are also some people who aren't. And I completely support myself in developing my ability to see the truth of people and act in a manner that is discerning and protective of myself. Now, that is an affirmation that carries power. It carries strength. It carries solidness. You know, bear danger, especially in money matters. What I feel with these two cards is that you perhaps have had the wool pulled over your eyes before now, because in a way I think you've wanted to believe in people, and maybe you have been very disappointed by certain people. But what your reading is really saying, reading number 3, is that your capacity to see clearly with innocence and purity rather than naivety is part of the healing. And being tangled in the residue of how that felt, it is not helpful. And I do think you've had stuff in your past lives, stuff in your genetic line where there's been a lot of possible manipulation, misuse of power, that kind of stuff. It's time to liberate yourself. News is on the way. I feel like there's a freedom coming here for you. Now, we do have the card news is on the way, so let's look and see what we're shown with that. But really clearly, it's like moving from a space of naivety where you get damaged and buffeted about and disappointed and hurt to a place of childlike curiosity but with awareness. Okay, that's a really lovely shift. And that is something you can do in the present. Just by getting still. Just by getting still. May we have more information, please, for reading number 3. May we have more information, please, for reading number 3? Yes, compass. Haha. This is about you finding your North Star. You need to reset your compass and set it so that you are moving forwards in the now. Gosh, I'm getting very blocked up. I do apologise if you've dived into reading number 3 first. The tree pollen is very high at the moment and I have a little bit of the hay fever. So as I'm talking, it's kind of blocking me up slightly. So yeah, ride the wave. This is gorgeous. And Field of Dreams. These are super cards. Okay. The healing for you after trauma and loss, and I do see many generations potentially, is to get grounded, be present, Don't try to fix everything, and don't try to fix everyone. You can't fix these kind of scammers in the Emperor's New Clothes, but you can observe them, and you can choose through your observations to reset your compass, you know, send them love and walk away. It is really time for you to invest in your future. Really, really time to be looking ahead. And I'm seeing, you know, Ride the Wave is a card of success. It's a card of seeing you rise to success, seeing the oceans, the tides, taking you where you need to go, away from the fog and into a space of newness, of clarity. Reading number 3, it's very, very interesting how we can see how the past can really clog us up, fog us up, but actually with determination to remain grounded in the present, even if stuff is showing up in our lives that, a bit like that bowl of pasta that I was showing you at the beginning, it's resonating with the past. We can just choose to recenter ourselves, appreciate the fact that past experiences are showing us whether someone is trustworthy or not, and then we proceed accordingly. We don't have to fix them. We don't have to hang out with them. We don't have to, you know, remain connected to the past. We get still, we retreat, we come away from those people, and then we move ahead in a way that we are setting our compass accordingly. It's like navigating the sea in a boat. If you see, you know, some rocks ahead, you get out your maps and you navigate round them. You don't see them and think, oh no, there are rocks ahead, I'm so disappointed, we've got rocks again. Actually, you say, oh, there are rocks, I've spotted those, therefore I will navigate around them. And it's really curious how often, as a metaphor, we don't do that in real life. If we imagine the rocky ground ahead of us is a group of people who are not perhaps entirely trustworthy, we often think, oh, here we are again, I've got to deal with this again, and we get into deep water. Actually, we can just look ahead and go, oh, look, rocky ground ahead, actually that doesn't work for me, we'll steer around these, we'll change course, we'll take a different route. You know, we can't change them, we can't fix them, we can't fix the past, we can't fix what other people do. If somebody else is repeating a pattern, we can't fix the fact that they are repeating the pattern. But we can choose to do it differently ourselves in the present. And that is where your ultimate healing sits. And then you focus on your own dreams, the things that you wish to birth into the world. We do see success here. And we see literally the tide of the times literally steering you into the future. Everything here is moving forwards, isn't it, in this direction. Well, reading number 3, I am loving your reading. Whether you are watching this as a tutorial or whether you are engaging with it because this reading spoke to you, I am sending you all the love in the world. Patreon Super Souls, thank you so, so much for being here and joining me. And if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you too. And thank you for joining us for this tutorial and for these readings. And if you'd like to check out what we do on Patreon, do feel free to come and join us. You're very, very, very welcome. Super Souls, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here. Your support is so, so appreciated, and I hope you are enjoying your extra material. Tons and tons and tons of love to you all, and my apologies for being a little bit blocked up as I am speaking. Yeah, it is just the beautiful tree pollen, and I love my trees, and so therefore I would not have this any other way.